Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Chat OMP, where I, William Peake, Harneys Global Managing Partner, speaks to various office managing partners around the globe. And this week, I am delighted to welcome Pavlos Aristodemou from our Cyprus office. Hello, Pavlos. How are you?
Hi, William. Very well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good, thanks. Last time we spoke, you ended up bringing us on a Socratic odyssey. So I certainly felt incredibly underread. So I'm looking forward to repeating that again this time round. I thought, Pavlos, it might be interesting for this episode to talk about leadership in terms of the changes that you have seen since you've been a leader in our business. And then go into talking about just how you have locked down such a diverse and global client base, because it never fails to amaze me when we speak around how many people you know in how many different places. But taking the first question first, as is traditional, what do you think the challenges are of leadership in 2025 and how have they changed over, for example, the last decade?
I would think that the challenges remain pretty much the same. You have to deal with people, which is
nightmare.
the main point of managing an office and having everybody being happy and everybody being united towards a common goal, which is growth, profitability, and quality of services, good reputation with the clients, and feeling that you're moving from A to B with a view to go all the way to Z. So definitely things have changed in terms of the matrix, in terms of the data you have, in terms of how you measure people. But fundamentally, if you come to it, you have the right people, you have the good crew, and you can manage this. You will have happy results end of the day.
Do you think you can have too much data and that you can hide behind that and it stops you trusting your instincts?
Yes.
Talk about asking a question I knew the answer to.
Yeah, I mean, I think data is good as long as you do not overuse and you do not rely too much on it, but actually know how to verify what you're actually looking at, or to go back and say, hold on a minute, I was thinking A here, but all the data shows we're the other side of the spectrum. So am I wrong? And you need to check again. But again, data is just like how you read it, how do you apply it? Just like a set of accounts. You can read, but can have different meanings, and then you have to drill in and go deeper and deeper and understand things. And I think the beauty of a good managing partner, at least at an office level, because at the global scale, it's much harder. But for offices, especially like the one in Cyprus, which was not very big, is to have a clear understanding of what everybody does. And then, not need to rely on the data other than for verification purposes.
I think there's always an interesting conversation there around the size of the offices, because that is the wonderful piece around the Cyprus office, that you can really feel and sense the community around that office, and you can actually, by walking the corridors, detect where there is ambition, where there are issues that you perhaps need to draw your attention to. Whereas I often think in our bigger offices, say BVI, say Hong Kong, it's just much harder for the managing partner to have their finger on the pulse in the same way.
And on top of that, I would add, you don't have such a big turnover of people in Cyprus, you would have in different other offices.
Yeah.
So people here you would know for 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. So it's a very different relationship to having people coming in for a couple of years and then moving offices, because this is simply different culture and a very different market, a less dynamic market in that respect to what you would have in, say, Asia or other places where people need to move for other reasons. Like, in the islands and Caribbean, people come and then they go because they need to go back to, mainland.
That is very true. Just changing gears slightly, I was chatting actually to one of your partners, Nancy, and we were chatting about a relationship that she's been chasing down over the last couple of years. And we were laughing about how people believe business development is, a coffee here, a coffee there, an occasional email. And I know for you, you're somebody who just gets business development and how relentless actually it is around building these long-standing, deep relationships with clients. And you've got some brilliant stories that involve you sitting having dinner with Andrea and the kids, and then suddenly you're on a plane and you're in the middle of nowhere trying to lock in a client. I mean, how difficult do you think it is to do business development well? And what are your best examples of creating that long-standing relationship by putting yourself, frankly, at an inconvenience?
I think we discussed before, but for me what is very important is people who understand the business of law.
Yeah,
I mean, you can have very good lawyers, technically excellent lawyers, but if you don't have the clients, what's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point? And then again, you can have brilliant technically lawyers who cannot bring a client. So what you need to do is basically have the possibility to bring clients, have great people to deliver work. But in order to land the client will not trust you simply because you have a great lunch or dinner. He needs to feel the trust.
Yeah.
And of course, you need to be well educated in different areas of laws. Maybe not to the depth that an expert in your office would have been, but you need to come across as the person that can be trusted to be recommended with a piece of work. Mm-hmm. And the person who will advise and give this work to the right person in the office to deliver quality and excellence to the client. And this is the one part. The second part, back in the day, because it's been some time now, you would need to jump on the plane. You're lucky if you get an email, a reply back, say, yes, I will accept you, and have a courtesy visit. And you need to jump on the plane, make sure you do your presentations and understand what your jurisdiction or your office has to sell and why these people should trust you. Why should they trust this jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. And why they should come to you. And don't forget, if you're not there with this person or this potential client, chances are somebody else is. Yeah. So you need to be there.
And it's interesting as well when you say trust the jurisdiction, because I think that's something that a lot of people with business development, certainly in the offshore world, they get wrong. They are selling, their firm. And I remember in London, when I first moved there in 2013, I used to walk into, the fresh fields, the slaughter and maize, etc. And I would talk about Harneys, and they would, they'd be like, oh, that's really, really interesting. But it wasn't until I started talking about Cyprus as a jurisdiction, BVI, Cayman, Bermuda, and actually talking about the jurisdictions, that allowed the conversation to flow, because you weren't just a cheap salesman selling your wares. You were talking about what are the benefits to their clients of these jurisdictions.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like choosing where to go for holidays and you choose the country and then you go to the hotel. You cannot just go out there and speak about one hotel in the middle of nowhere. So this is very important. People need to understand. And this is sometimes what Cyprus got right and sometimes wrong. In that very dynamic private practice of lawyers. I think by ratio maybe biggest in the world. To have so many lawyers and accountants as well. So promoting the jurisdiction, but sometimes overselling it, which could have exactly the opposite impact. It's like, okay, it's Cyprus again. Oh. And just to go back, I would think the most important part of this is when you see a client, you need to be, or a potential client, you need to know who this person is, what he deals with. Be educated about his practice. Know as much information as you can about this person so that when you go there, you can have meaningful conversation for him or her. And then you put something on the table. And again, one point is you might see somebody now and never hear from this person for a couple of years. And then suddenly, boom, one email lands and it's, this is the person I met a couple of years ago. And I thought, oh, this meeting went to waste. And suddenly you have a very nice instruction. It's all quite interesting.
The investment time of learning about that individual before you sit down with them, it's all worth it.
I could not leave this without saying that things have changed with the meetings nowadays. We didn't have LinkedIn or other platforms back then. And people should, to a big extent, utilize social platforms.
LinkedIn? Never heard of it.
Oh, and have you ever heard of it?
No idea. I'll Google it. I'll Google it straight after. Pavlos, there's two topics I could talk to you about forever. Cashmere sweaters and business development. But unfortunately, we only have 10 or 11 minutes on each episode. But thank you so much for making the time. Really, really appreciate it.
It's a great pleasure.
Wonderful insights, which I think a lot of people can take a lot from. Brilliant, Pavlos. Lovely to chat to you as always, and we will talk soon.
Bye-bye.